And we're live. Welcome to Volume 6 of the weekly AA meeting from the Amateur Analysts. We got most of the usual crew here tonight. We got Kyle Meredith, Michael Serio, and Perry Doobie. Trevor Peck is taking the night off to be a good law student. And then we're going to have a guest tonight, Christopher Bergeljung, to come in and give us an NHL preview about halfway through the podcast. But apart from that, just let everybody introduce themselves, see how everyone's doing tonight. Kyle, start us off.
Yeah, what's up, guys? For the first time in 6 weeks, I'm deciding to drink on a Monday, and it is solely because of the Gators' misfortunes. So, cheers.
Serio.
I'm also drinking a Miller Lite, and I'm $5 richer this week.
And Perry Doobie.
I'm a little bit under the weather today, but at least I don't look like I'm in a coffin like Michael Serio does.
Yeah, just for everyone's viewing pleasure, this is Michael Serio in his deathbed right there. So glad he could join us in the afterlife today. We're going to get right into it today. We got a lot of college football to talk about. It's been a crazy few days. Some strange things have happened. Thankfully, it's a lot of off-the-field issues, and none of them have to do with Florida State for once. So it's a nice change of pace for us Noles fans. Start off, let everyone go over their best and worst picks of the week. It was not much change in the leaderboards up top. Everyone had pretty even weeks in the spread and straight-up picks for college, except for Serio decided to dominate the straight-ups and only miss 3 games this week, possibly because he did not call a single upset on the weekend. So let everyone go over and talk about the picks a little bit. Kyle.
Yeah, 11 and 13 against the spread, which puts me almost to 500 overall, 61 and 65. A couple I'm pissed about. I'm still mad that every single week I continue to think that Michigan State's going to cover a spread. They haven't done it yet. Straight up, I was 17 and 7. I think a lot of us were. And we'll talk about best and worst teams in a second. Nothing real crazy. I was kind of the same as Serio. I didn't really pick any upsets. I picked everything pretty much as the line stood. But
Serio, what you got?
Just another dominating week of me in college football. Just kidding. This was purely an anomaly. Yeah, I don't really know what happened. I guess I had a minor stroke and it sent me to the afterlife. But somehow I did well, so go me.
Doobie.
Been happy with my picks the past 2 weeks, with the exception of a couple. I am in the lead for the straight-up picks on the season, although Serio is quickly approaching me after that idiot savant week he had last week. That's not an insult. I'm sorry. That's like Rain Man. Rain Man was an idiot savant. But I'm not calling you Rain Man. Anyways, we'll go further than that. The picks that I was proud of, sorry, Trevor, and slightly sorry to you, Palmer, but picked Tennessee straight up over UGA. Was really looking like an idiot at halftime, and then was looking like a genius at the end of the game. I also continued my Pac-12 sage status by picking UW to cover the spread against USC. I should have had the balls to pick them straight up, but I did not. I was not proud of picking Missouri straight up over Florida. Florida was better than I thought, but we won't even discuss them till later. And then I also picked Navy over Notre Dame, and to Serio's delight, I was really wrong about that.
Woo!
Yeah, I'm right there with you on the Missouri pick. Maybe that was just more hope than anything. I think it was for me.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see the craziness of I wanted to see them keep ranking these teams high for getting one big win and then watching them immediately lose. So I'm sure Florida won't last a whole lot longer now, but we will be getting into that deeply in a few minutes, so I don't want to ruin it yet.
I'm not sure if Bama will either, man. They continue to be up and down. They were really bad in the first half. If Arkansas had any kind of offensive line to deal with that front seven, then they easily could have pulled away. They had multiple chances inside the 50. I think
big visit for them to Texas A&M this weekend too, coming up.
Yeah, it's a big weekend. I mean, like I said, but the thing is, they were down this week, so
Texas A&M is also vastly overrated.
Well, maybe one of them won't be too badly after this weekend. Somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose.
Yeah. We're going to start thinning out the SEC, thankfully.
Just briefly, I ranted a little bit last week about how ESPN tweeted out a top 11 instead of a top 10 to throw UF into that. Of course, now that Florida State is the number 11 team and it doesn't put another SEC team into it, they went right back to their normal top 10 tweet with the AP poll. It's pretty hilarious that how blatant that was last week. I know I went over it. I won't be too redundant this week, but yeah, FSU at number 11 and no top 10 tweets to be found. Moving to some normal topics. Start off with.
I love how ESPN commentators are starting to not have the back of whoever's got that social media. Like Herb Street today was like, I think it's messed up. I don't know who's doing it, but I have nothing to do with it. Like he's just
really. I didn't see that.
Yeah, he said it today. Somebody tweeted at him like, "What's your thoughts on top 10 this week instead of top 11?" I don't understand. And he was like, "Yeah, I don't get it either. It's messed up." He's like, I have nothing to do with it. Like straight up, place blame on somebody else.
Yeah, Cannell was all over it last week too. So
Yeah.
I think there's an SEC guy running that from an intern position or something like that.
Also, before we move on, since this is the only segue I see into discussing Florida State, I'm going to go ahead and call out you, Palmer, and Mike Price as well, even though he never listens to this. My boy Everett Golson was flawless on Saturday. The Seminoles, I know the score doesn't reflect it, but Florida State was one of the more impressive teams of the weekend. If we could catch our pick sixes, Dalvin doesn't drop a ball, he doesn't pull up on a hamstring, that game's 54-23 instead of what it ended up. Florida State is improving very rapidly, and if Golson continues to get more freedom in that offense, it's going to be really nasty if our receivers can catch the ball. He literally, maybe you guys can contest me here, but I didn't see him make one mistake. And the fact that he has still not turned the ball over and that our offense is the only offense in major college football to not have turned the ball over yet is extremely impressive. And I think that, Palmer, you should go ahead and finally give him some credit.
So I'm going to defend myself a little bit here because if you go back and watch the podcast, I never said he couldn't play. I never said he had to go to the bench. I said if he continues to not use his legs and he continues to not put that zip on the ball and he continues to play at that level, McGuire's got to come in. We've seen him scrambling more. You tweeted out and I commented back to you. He finally was putting that zip that we saw in that first game on the ball yesterday. That's been absent for weeks. He's been touch balling it. He's been lobbing it up. It gets to the receivers way too late. He finally got his arm behind that ball in that game, put some power behind it, and got those into the receivers while they were still open.
That's not fair. That's not fair at all. I mean, he had no protection for 3 of those weeks, and then against Wake Forest, the wind was whipping at about 40 miles an hour. 2 balls that went up in the air that would have been perfect passes that would have hit Bobo Wilson in stride for touchdowns, got caught by the wind and nosedived to the ground. If that's what you're talking about, is lofting.
No, I'm talking about his balls to the sideline, his balls on stop routes. He was putting too much touch, and defenders were getting there and batting them away. I'm not talking about anything over the top.
That's fair enough, but that 3rd and 8 pass on that final drive we went down and scored was absolutely unreal. It was almost Jameis-esque with Jameis in college, man. Thread the needle, 3rd and 8, big pass. That was huge.
I have no problem at all admitting Golson was lights out in that game. He played fantastic, but I was waiting for it. I said if he doesn't start playing better, if he doesn't improve on these issues, he shouldn't be out there, and he has improved on the issues. That's the huge difference. If he's going to play like that, he should never come out of the game.
At least you're not as bad as Dominguez, who legitimately asked for us to put in McGuire after the Boston College game.
Yeah, mine was definitely caveated. You can go back and check the film on that one. But we need to move on. We've already done our usual fourths on topics we didn't have on the agenda, so a little behind start, but we'll get into our most impressive teams of the week for each person. Kyle, start us off.
Michigan pitched another shutout. Pretty self-explanatory. They're looking for real, especially their one loss being to Utah, who's in the top 5. I mean, Michigan looked really good again.
Sirio.
I had Michigan in there as well. Yeah, Harbaugh's got his guys, and that's just going to be a scary team in the future. Next, I'll probably get made fun of this pick, but the Notre Dame Fighting Irish were also extremely impressive. Navy isn't a really spectacular team, but for Notre Dame to keep putting up points like they're doing with just backup players deserves recognition. So I'm going to keep giving them that because no one else will. ProSize had over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Fuck yeah. The other team who I thought was really impressive was Utah. We'll get into this later, but the way that Utah's defense absolutely handled Goff was just crazy. It made ESPN look like a bunch of idiots the way that they were talking about Goff being the best quarterback. Those were my two.
That was three, but,
Well,
Doobie.
I agreed.
My one that I will begrudgingly say is UF. I thought for sure that they'd go in and have a classic letdown because I didn't want to believe that they're actually a good team. But they actually performed extremely well and handled the Missouri team that easily could have. Obviously, that all changes and goes out the window now, but I'll give them their credit for that week. But the real one I want to say, and this is not because they're actually an impressive team, but Alexander Dominguez pointed this out to me, Iowa. If you look at their schedule, they are currently undefeated. Literally, Iowa's remaining schedule this season is Northwestern, Maryland, Indiana, Minnesota, Purdue, and Nebraska. It is impressive, extremely impressive to me that Iowa is probably going to go undefeated this season. And I don't really know how it's possible that they're going to go into a championship game undefeated unless they get beat by Northwestern to me. That's impressive. Hawkeyes might be the playoff buster.
What division are they in?
The shitty one, apparently.
Yeah, they don't have any. Wow, that's going to be something to keep an eye on. I'm glad that got brought up. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit. But
I gotta give credit. Dominguez told me about that, and I couldn't believe that
they
when I
backed into their win against Wisconsin last week. I was watching
it. Doesn't matter though. They get into a championship game undefeated. I mean, it's a one game.
A win's a win. Same thing with Notre Dame. But
they have a loss.
Who does? Notre Dame does.
Notre Dame. Iowa does not.
Right. I'm not discrediting what you just said at all. I think it was very eye-opening. I just want to let it be known that I don't think that they're going to be a bracket buster.
No, they're going to lose the Big Ten championship, but it's going to be hilarious to see everyone talking up a top probably 5 Iowa team and then watch them just get blown out of the water.
They'll definitely be at very least top 10 if they finish undefeated in the Power 5 conference. I mean, they'll be up there. So and then whoever wins the other division, even if they got a loss then, that's going to be a playoff resume game right there.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. We're going to move right on into the reverse of the most disappointing teams of the week. Kyle?
Well, I really wasn't that impressed with Alabama. I know they had a good second half, but I really don't think Arkansas is that good. But this is a little bit out of left field with my most disappointing team. North Texas team lost to FCS Portland State 66-7 at home. Their quarterbacks, 3 of them went for a whopping 16 of 41 for 122 yards total with 1 score. FCS Portland State beat them by 58 points.
All right, I've got 3 that I'm really excited about. First is going to be University of Miami. It doesn't matter if we beat them by 1 or 100. They're going to be disappointing to me. Go Noles. Second, little bit more legitimate reason, UCF. If anyone doesn't know, I'm a student here now, so I chose a great time to watch some UCF football. And by watch, I mean don't watch. They probably won't win a game this entire season, which means free beer for the entire city. And then third, Boston College lost 3-0 to Wake Forest. That was just, I couldn't believe it. I didn't watch a single second of the game, but the way that they played against FSU and then losing 3-0, pretty disappointing.
Kyle, I'm very impressed that you had that UNT. I thought I was going to come out of left field, throw that one out there, and everyone was going to be like, man, that guy's awesome, looking up a small school like North Texas. But you beat me to it. Mine's Michigan State. I think that they are – I've been saying it since the beginning of the season. I said when Oregon played Michigan State that I thought this was a meaningless game, that at the end of the season we would have no interest in either team. I think that's going to come to fruition this week when Michigan State plays Michigan. But Michigan State giving Rutgers a chance to win that game if they don't spike the ball on 4th down is absurd. That's still a team missing their head coach and 5 players, I believe. There's no way that they should have even been in competition with a top 25 team, let alone a top 10 team. Michigan State is not very good, and I think they're going to get blown out by Michigan this week. The team I mentioned earlier that they played earlier this season, Oregon, is a close second, losing to Washington State. I mean, I never really had a lot of faith in Helfrich, but I think it's showing right now that he is not the right coach for that program, and he's better off as a coordinator. Losing to Washington State, who lost to Portland State that you just mentioned, is pretty absurd.
Life after Marcus Mariota is not as pretty as they thought it would be.
Yeah.
So unless I missed something while I was checking some logistics for us, nobody picked Oklahoma as the most disappointing team on the week. Because, I mean, losing to Texas, who has just been downright horrendous all season, one of the worst, suffering some of the worst losses in program history, got players tweeting they want to leave their program in the game, and they come out and beat a top 10 Oklahoma that's been playing well, that's got a quarterback who's been one of the best in the country. I think that, to me, is the biggest just letdown of the year for any school so far. That's definitely mine. I'm kind of surprised that made it through without mention.
Were you guys not extremely happy for Charlie Strong, though, watching that and watching him win and the reaction of those players? I thought that was awesome, and I was really impressed with Texas fans, man. They were treating that win like they had just won the Super Bowl. I mean, like, I don't even think FSU fans in that situation could have supported the team like they did. I was really impressed by that.
It was awesome. I mean, everybody's like, oh, he saved his job. First of all, it's a bummer that you were even talking about having to save his job this early. But that was a huge fucking win. That was huge.
Yeah, that was a feel-good moment of the day for me.
Yeah.
Disappointment in Oklahoma, definitely not taken away from Texas there. They bounced back like they had to. That is a program-saving win. They needed a win like that this season. If not, there's no telling how far that program starts dropping because they probably do fire strong. Recruiting takes a hit. It was looking real bad, and that win it saves his job and it saves that program from just falling even further off the cliff. So that's a big time win in college football this week. So the next topic, once again, my favorite topic in sports, the reverse Heisman. Who's everybody got for us this week?
Well, mine has nothing to do with play on the field. My reverse Heisman is Will Grier.
Nice.
Sirio was almost going to do that same thing.
But, I mean, other than that, I talked about the North Texas guys. That's a joke. If we're trying to do a running thing across the year, Justin Thomas is still at the top, but because Georgia Tech should not be that bad. It's a joke to me that they're 0-3 in the ACC. I know they played a tough schedule so far, but to lose 3 games in a row like that, Duke, it's a joke. But, yeah, Will Grier, as far as single-handedly hurting his team the most this week, that's him.
Kyle, going off what you just said, I'm a little bit nervous that I watched that entire Georgia Tech Clemson game. Paul Johnson was so disgusted with his team that I think we're going to see a different Georgia Tech team when we play them in a couple of weeks. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a much better opponent than we're anticipating. So I see a lot of improvement. It kind of makes me nervous that they were that bad because I think they'll improve because of it.
I mean, I agree with you, man. It's the Clemson D just absolutely beat them up, and you're right. Paul Johnson's going to get into his guys, and if it's a 3:30 game, which everybody thinks it's going to be,
we got options, so we don't find out until next week.
Yeah, next week.
It could very well be a 7 p.m. game, though. I could see that, depending. I don't know.
It won't be that late because it's Georgia Tech's homecoming game, and homecoming games are never played at night.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Sirio, I believe you're up on reverse Heisman.
Is that a scientific? Homecoming games are never played at night?
I mean, it just doesn't happen. They play them during the day because you got the whole homecoming court situation, all the different activities.
I just hadn't thought about it. Okay, anyways, I'm going to go into my reverse Heisman. Prefaced it earlier, Jared Goff, absolutely terrible. 5 interceptions against Utah. Utah's defense was absolutely crushing. They were pressuring them the entire game. But still, he was being touted as the best available quarterback that could be taken this year. And to have a 5 interception game, prime time, just is unacceptable. The biggest game of his career, and he chokes like that, was just it blew his team. It blew it for him. He lost by 6 points, so he definitely cost his team the win. I don't think that's harsh to say that.
Hey, has everybody seen all these reports about Spurrier?
No, is it going on right now?
No.
Yeah, he's retiring and they're naming their interim head coach tomorrow.
Like he's retiring on the spot, like mid-season?
Yeah, they're naming their interim head coach tomorrow.
Oh,
Wow.
What is going on in football today?
Yeah, right?
Jesus.
I'm gonna try to find out some more information about this while we run through a few other things. Stuff can't stop happening in college football today, but Syria, the stat we talked about earlier on golf, 4 of those 5 interceptions came on first or second down, so it's not even one of those times that he just like had to be thrown it late in drives and late in down situations and try to save something. First and 10, second and 10, second and 9, I believe, are 4 of those interceptions. The 5th on a 3rd and 3. I know he had 1 in the end zone, possibly 2. So I mean, you can't get much worse in a big game than that.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, it was just a terrible game. He finished with 25 out of 47 completions, so pretty much 50%, which is well below what he's normally doing. 340 yards, which was great, but 5 interceptions, just completely uncharacteristic. Absolutely cost his team the win.
All right, Doobie, who you got for the reverse Heisman?
If I was going a week-to-week thing, it would be Samaje Perine of Oklahoma, because that kid rushed for 1,700 yards last year and has been god-awful this year, and especially against Texas. But I'm going to stick with my full season pick, and I'm going to go with Mason Rudolph again. I have no feasible idea how Oklahoma State is still undefeated and how they still continue to win games. Mason Rudolph's stat line as the quarterback this week was 20 of 40, so 50% completion rate for 218 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. He does this every week. They only score touchdowns with their running quarterback, J.W. Walsh. Oklahoma State, I can't – I mean, Iowa is a very unfathomable, undefeated team, but Oklahoma State is by far the worst that I can see right now. If they end up going undefeated at the end of the season, I will tattoo Mason Rudolph's name on my ass cheek.
That is on video. That is on the internet for all time, Jimmy. Be careful what you wish for.
If they win the national championship, if they're undefeated at the end of the season, I will tattoo Mason Rudolph's name on my ass.
I'm going to be rooting for them in every single game the rest of the season. If Florida State plays them in the national championship game, I'm going to be really, really fucking torn on who to root for in that game because of that fact.
What if Georgia plays them?
Oh, then I'm 100% rooting for you to get a name tattooed on your ass. That's not even. I'm doing it.
That's a joke.
Did you think about this before you said it, or was this your spur of the moment? Because both are.
No, that just sprung into my head.
Okay.
That just sprung into my head.
That's fantastic.
I'm going to throw one more name out there for that. I'm going to say Cody Kessler. This is a whole other situation. I mean, we've seen it a few times the past few years with USC quarterbacks that are supposed to be the top guy, the top quarterback that year, come in, have not as good years, end up falling off. This guy had a terrible game. That was an awful loss for USC. Yes, he may have had a hammered coach the entire game, and maybe that went into it, but he was a little disappointing to me. As some may remember, I actually was the crazy guy who thought USC was finally going to pull it together and win the national championship this year, and they are terrible, and that's clearly not going to happen, and they are just done. They probably have no shot at the playoff now. They lost the coach. So I'm a little upset with him for not helping out my prediction, but life goes on. So now we're going to move into some of the interesting things that have popped up in the past few days. We're going to start with the things down in Gainesville, emphasis on the word Gaines. We can go with Gatoroid. There's been several puns to come out and plays on words to come out throughout the day about UF's starting quarterback that took over for Trayon Harris and really did well. Will Grier was a tiny guy in high school, had finally put on a little weight, was known as a tough gainer, and now he has failed an NCAA drug test. This is not a Florida University suspension. This is not an internal issue. This was the league suspending him for a calendar year for testing positive for PEDs. He also, from what I've read and everything I've understood, will lose a year of eligibility as a player. They will have touchdown Trayon Harris back at starting quarterback. That's the preview I'm going to give you. I'm sure most people will know a little bit about it. Kyle, what are your thoughts?
Well, okay, so I'm just going to clear up what you said. I don't think he's going to come back next year as a redshirt sophomore, so I think he's okay. I saw some clarity on that.
He does lose the year of eligibility. The confusion was that people thought he lost a second year of suspension. So, like, people thought he was going to have to come back in 2017 was the confusion.
Right.
He comes back in a year, but an eligibility year is taken away.
No, if he comes back next year, he will be a junior. If he plays next year, he will be a junior.
That's crazy. That sucks. I mean, you know, it's the crime though. I mean, here's my thoughts. A lot of Gator fans obviously are you know, at least we suspended our players. Da 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 da. That's stupid. That's besides the point. It's a joke. This kid went on national television and said I took something over the counter that I didn't know had something in it. In my opinion, he was covering his own ass because the kid's dad is a prominent high school coach in North Carolina. His starting quarterback from the University of Florida. Professional athletes, college athletes know what they're putting in their bodies. I guarantee you they know what they weigh every single day pretty much. They know exactly what's going on in their bodies. It's a joke to me that he's trying to say he didn't know. That's really all I have to say on it. I've tried to, you know, like hear from the other side, you know, being a Seminole and listening to it. None of it makes any sense for him to say that he got it over the kid. I had no idea what was in it because I'm not buying it.
Syrio, what are your thoughts?
I just wanted to speak on that really quick. I know when I was doing my strength and conditioning internship at Florida State, every single day, every single player was weighed, stepped on a scale and was weighed, and that was written down on a piece of paper. I don't know what was done with it, sent to the coaches. I don't know. So for UF to say that they had no idea, maybe, but I say probably not. I'm going to assume that UF does it in a similar fashion, that all big football teams do it in a similar fashion, that for them to see these gains and not at least assume to some degree that there's some performance-enhancing substance involved is absolutely ridiculous. He's letting his team down in the most selfish way possible. He absolutely deserves it, and I love it because it's the Gators.
So I do want to clarify just a bit. The weight gain was not the full 40-something pounds that some places were reporting. It was only about 27, which is not necessarily an abnormal weight gain. The difference was this was a kid known for not being able to put on weight, and all of a sudden was. The weight itself was not necessarily like a very obvious gain. It was only 2 pounds a month. So
you're right. It's only 2 pounds a month, but the way it was described is straight muscle. Like that, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and what was his weight gain during his freshman year? Right, if you track that, he didn't gain anything. Right. I mean, if Clint Trickett suddenly hulked up to 215 pounds, don't you think everyone would be looking at Florida State going, "Holy shit, where did they get that kid?"
That's the exact comparison I was talking to somebody today. Is like Trickett was the same kind of hard gainer. Trickett, I don't think Grier has the same metabolic, like not disease but disorder that Trickett had, but still tough gainer like that. The UF claim and the claim from everybody involved is that he had the flu before the Ole Miss game, and that he was taking something for the flu over the counter, and that is where this came from. That's a little silly to me. No one's taking something for the flu and tested positive for PEDs. The NCAA said it was not just a banned substance. They said PED, so that kind of goes out the window to me.
And this is something that, I mean, I'm not saying you should take message boards at face value, but first of all, I'm not even talking about the message board that on Saturday a Gator message board came out and said, Will Grier, this is his last game of the season. Enjoy it while it lasts. Roids, he's gone. 4 weeks ago on War Chant, on the Florida State message board, there was a thread that Will Grier was going to get suspended because of failed drug tests. I don't think that is just a coincidence that this is going around the internet like that. Obviously, the NCAA does not have to and will not, for legal reasons, divulge what he actually failed the test for. UF is making a smart move by their PR team to come out and say that it was just because of the flu. Will Grier is doing the smart thing. That's never going to be divulged. We'll never know. unless he actually brings it to a legal Supreme Court battle or something like that, which he won't. No one will ever know what he took. So when he took Lipridol, which it really seems like he did, he could just come out and say, no, I took Tylenol, and no one's ever going to be able to dispute it because we'll never see the actual drug test. So smart move by UF in that, in my opinion. I don't even want to harp on Grier anymore. It was silly. It was dumb. I'm just anxious to see what Neon Treon can do against LSU this week. I mean, I don't count them out completely. I actually thought they had a chance before Grier went out. The line moved from 7 to 4 before this news broke. I have no idea what it's at now. I imagine that it probably will sit at about 10 when the game kicks off.
The line's probably suspended for at least a day.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm sure it'll be at about 10 when it kicks off. I think that the Gators could cover that because I think they're the first team that will hold Fournette under 150. But I don't see how they could possibly win with Treon as the leader of that offense.
Yeah, that team is built on defense. This is not going to be like they're all of a sudden terrible because of this. I mean, Will Grier did play fantastic in the Ole Miss game, but their defense has won them most of the last few games. Before that, it was pure luck winning them games. So I don't think there's any chance they go undefeated or anything like that, but they're still going to be a tough opponent for a lot of teams, including Florida State down the line. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And just to definitely clarify, the line suspended on the sites I'm looking at right now. So
it's just unfortunate for their offense because now they're going to basically be the same running team that they were last year, whereas Grier gave that element of throwing it downfield, which shocked Ole Miss. It was complete shock and awe factor.
What Grier was able to do was keep them on the football field on third down.
Yeah.
Treon Harris can't necessarily do that. Third and long, you're in trouble. You are in trouble.
Treon Harris does not win that Tennessee game.
No, there's no way. Grier kept them on the field, and you're right. I mean, I don't think any Gator fan was ever like, man, if Will Grier doesn't throw for 400 yards against LSU, we're going to lose. They knew they're going to have to stop him with their defense. That hasn't changed. They knew they're going to have to shut down the net to some extent. They're going to have to get a couple turnovers, all that kind of stuff to win. But just the fact that it's a confidence thing. I mean, they've been playing for 6 weeks now with Grier at the helm. That's huge. They got to go into Death Valley at 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Is that game day, by the way?
No, it's Michigan.
Game day is Michigan State.
Wow. That's surprising.
Game day was begging to go to a home Michigan game this year. When they got the opportunity, they jumped all over it.
That's true. It's just, you look at, that would have been such a fun game day at LSU with all the signs. I mean, we'll still see plenty of signs, but it would have been, I think someone, it would have been amazing.
All right, we're going to switch to our topics because, especially with the Steve Spurrier news, the coaching carousel conversation is going to be a little bit different. We're going to go into the Brett Beliema issue. I know Sarah hadn't seen it. I don't know if Kyle has. I know Doobie talked to me specifically about this afternoon, so I'm going to let him start us off and give us the background on Beliema being an absolute idiot.
All right, first of all, if you have not seen this video, you need to look it up. If you want to see what a scumbag coach looks like, who is not riding on the back of motorcycles with their interns, shout out to you, Bobby Petrino, you got to watch this video and see what a fat asshole Brett Beliema is. Basically, there's a sideline play, and the Bama players and the Arkansas players kind of get in each other's faces a little bit. Brett Beliema looks like he's just been inspired by the Lord, and he runs on the field and pushes an Alabama player, literally pushes him. I don't know how the ref didn't catch that. The ref turns around when he pushes him, and Beliema does a WWE-esque flop. Literally goes, whoa!
LeBron James would have been proud of that one.
Oh, it was incredible. Falls backwards, and the ref throws a flag. As soon as the ref throws a flag, Beliema loses it and erupts like they just threw a Hail Mary to win the game, and is doing the full arm rotation, like he's waving someone around third, screaming like, "Pick Suey! Woo!" And it is the most comical / sad thing I've ever seen. That's probably going to be the high point of his season. Brett Beliema, to me, is the equivalent of a human Jabba the Hutt. He's one of the most disgusting human beings on the face of the earth, and if he was to go live in a sauna at the bottom of Arkansas school gym for the rest of his life, it would make me happy. I can't stand Brett Beliema. Only Brian Kelly outweighs him. It was terrible. You need to go see it. He's a fat asshole. Screw you, Brett.
So I have nothing to follow up with that. Do either of you have anything to say to that? Because that was perfect.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Well, now you can watch it, Serial.
Yeah, now, I literally told you about this 45 minutes before the podcast starts, and you're now pulling it up mid-podcast.
Well, because you didn't describe it as animated and flamboyant as Doobie did.
That's why I don't want to follow up. Doobie did it justice. We got to move on now. We're going to go into what is about to be a coaching carousel in NCAA football. Steve Sarkisian out at USC. It was just a leave of absence. It is now he is fired. He is no longer the coach. Evidence has come out that he's been drunk at several games. He's been drunk at practices all year. All his ex-players from Washington are coming out saying he was always drunk at games and at practices. I mean, this is I've never heard of something like this from a coach. I'm sure it's happened, especially in the old days when there wasn't social media and this kind of stuff didn't get out. But Steve Sarkisian apparently really has some alcohol problems. And, of course, now everyone's going to give the sad story comments and, oh, I feel so bad for the guy because it's a disease and all that. He's going to get basically a pass for being an irresponsible coach that was taking millions and millions of dollars a year and trying to be a leader of men, and parents were trusting their kids to this guy. I have no sympathy, whether it's a disease or not. It's ridiculous. He was drunk all the damn time. I'm glad he's fired. I hope he gets no coaching jobs again. Don't care if he gets sober. Go do something else with your life. You're done in football, in my opinion. I'm going to let anyone else comment on the actual firing and the situation. Then we're going to have a brief talk about the coaching carousel that's about to happen. One of the best jobs in college football just became available. I don't care if you hate USC. There's no denying that is one of the most desirable coaching jobs. They have a stranglehold on a hotbed of recruiting in California. They have history. They have the resources. This is a very sought-after position. It's going to be interesting to see who they go after. I believe they have someone in mind. I believe they did this today because they want to go after their guy now, and they want to bring him in and start recruiting now. And that's going to be followed up by talking about another historically great job in college football, South Carolina opening up. Maybe not so great lately, but an opportunity for an up-and-comer to come save a program, much like McElwain's trying to do at Florida. I have done my rant. I'm going to let everyone else talk about this now in the normal order. Kyle, start us off.
I have nothing to say about Sarkisian because Palmer took it all, which is fine. Serial, me and you are gonna have to find something to talk about that we're passionate about, and then just cut everybody else off because I don't think
sounds good. First, well, I want to say it's a little bit unfair to say he was drunk all the time because we don't know that. But just
no, it's actually been documented.
Players and assistant coaches over the last few seasons have said he's drunk at most practices and most games, and that he kept liquor in all of the equipment trunks all the time.
He was drunk at the Arizona State game this year.
Yeah, but I hadn't heard that he was drunk all the time.
I've heard he's drunk at practice. That's definitely for sure.
I think and then as far as the Brent Beliema, whatever the fuck his last name is, I must have missed the WWE slam because that just
he didn't slam a flop.
He flopped.
Kind of just lost balance.
See, we're past that topic, man. You're too late.
That's
Move on.
Fine. I'm just jumping on. That's it for me. I'm not really animated this week, I guess.
No, I will say it's a bummer that Spurrier's leaving in the middle of the year. Dude's a coaching icon. He's obviously. I think the truth is he just doesn't have it in him anymore. He doesn't want to wake up on Saturdays. Doesn't want to wake up Fridays so we can go to practice. That happens. Of course, as soon as this happens, all of a sudden Twitter blows up and says he's going to be the head coach at the University of Miami, and which is a joke. But he's. I don't know. That's crazy. It's been a wild day of college football, that's for sure.
Any thoughts for anybody on possible candidates at USC, South Carolina, up-and-coming coaches, maybe Chip Kelly from the NFL?
I do want to say one thing on Spurrier. I couldn't have said it better than you did, Palmer, about Sark, but I don't give Spurrier a pass for this at all. I think he's being an asshole here. Spurrier has always been an asshole. When he was at University of Florida, I hated him for it. Now at South Carolina, I love him for it. but you don't just up and retire halfway through a season because it's not going well. I don't care how much of a legend you are. It's disgraceful in my opinion, unless something comes out that something's really wrong in his family or he has a real issue, not an Urban Meyer type issue, but a real issue. I find no solace in this, and I think that it's Spurrier being asshole Spurrier. There's no way that you leave a team midseason, no matter how old you are, or you don't want to get up for games.
I think that's even doubled by the fact that South Carolina has stood behind him and said that he can leave when he wants to leave and he won't be fired, even though the program was doing terribly. Maybe a possibility this was a conversation between the university and him, them saying, look, we really don't want to fire you. This is an issue. I think that would have still been after the season, though. So to me, when the school has pledged you your job, no matter what, when you're not doing a good job, and then you just ditch them mid-season, I got to agree with Doobie on that one. That's a little much, but it's just Spurrier being Spurrier, man. It's the old ball coach being himself, and it's kind of expected at this point he's going to pull stuff like that. So,
as far as replacements go, I'm calling it right now. This is the time at the end of the season. Kirby Smart's finally leaving Alabama. He's going to South Carolina. It's the perfect opportunity for him. That's a good program, a decent recruiting ground. He can compete in the SEC. I think it's the perfect opportunity, and he should seize it.
What do you think about someone see, I was actually going to go his name for Southern Cal because they've been talking about maybe bringing defensive mind instead of offensive and getting as far away from the Pete Carroll tree as they can, and going to the Saban tree is exactly that.
I just don't think that they go that far east, honestly. I think that Chris Peterson is a big candidate for him. I think they're upset that they passed on him last time. I think that Gruden is also going to be – I think that's who their main guy is. I think they're going to try everything to get Gruden. I don't think it happens. But I think they go for a bigger name. They're not going for a coordinator.
So my thought with the Kirby Smart type thought is that you pull a coach out of the Southeast that has the recruiting ties to the Southeast when you already have the recruiting ability you do in California. USC immediately becomes the best recruiting football team in the country without even a question.
I think it's a good move by them, but I think that the West Coast, they just don't do that type of thing. I've never seen them do it, and I don't think they'll break that trend.
All right, well, something to watch. I'm sure we'll get a lot of names out the next week. We'll probably do a small piece on that next week with two major universities with head coach openings right in the middle of the season. Like there's not enough to talk about already. So that's about – it's a little further than I thought we'd get in this. College football was a big, heavy week. We're going to quickly go over some preview for next week and then move on to some other leagues. Kyle, what are you looking forward to the most? Three very big matchups next weekend.
Well, I'm really excited for Michigan State. I'd like to see Michigan on the big stage. I think Michigan State falters. I like Michigan in that one. And I'm excited to see Memphis. Ole Miss has got to go to Memphis. Memphis hasn't lost a game. They might be one of those New Year's Six bowl people. I think that'll be really fun. Ole Miss is going on the road. Haven't really been impressive on the road. I know it's been against Vanderbilt in Florida, but I mean they beat Tuscaloosa. I don't know. I'm excited about those two.
Syrio, what are you looking forward to?
Michigan State. I think this is the time when people realize that Michigan State's signature win that was supposed to get them in the playoffs over Oregon was the complete opposite. Michigan State's just an average run-of-the-mill team, and they're going to realize that Michigan is the team in that state. They're going to be running it for the next couple of years, and this Saturday is when that page flips.
Doobie.
Don't have much to say here. I'm looking forward to actually having a good Thursday night for the first time this season. We've got Auburn, Kentucky, and UCLA Stanford on Thursday. I think that should be a lot of fun. And then I'm looking forward to Utah, Arizona State, because I think that the Utah hype train ends and Arizona State beats.
So Doobie brought one of my under-the-radar games up. That was it right there. It's going to be interesting to see if they can pull an upset. Going off Doobie's comments earlier, Iowa Northwestern becomes very interesting to me now to see if Iowa can keep that kind of run going against a team that has been playing well and is coming off a blowout. Do they get demoralized? Does it motivate them? It'll be interesting to see that. Another little bit under the radar is I want to see what Clemson's offense can do against Boston College, who has proven themselves as a fantastic defense in every game this year. I want to see what Deshaun Watson can do against that. I think it will show a lot about the newly top 5 Minty Tigers, something to keep an eye on, as well as USC going to Notre Dame. How's that team's mentality? What's the morale? What can they do with an interim head coach? Last time they had an interim head coach, it was Ed Orgeron, and they rallied around the guy. We'll see what they can do this time. That they're finding out the same day that I believe I read something, Pat Hayden, the athletic director, is also going through some medical issues as well. So I want to see what kind of motivation, what kind of mental status that team is on. It'll something I'm going to personally keep an eye on. That's going to be it for college football, unless there's anything else from anybody. We're going to move on to
throw in the Georgia-Missouri game into that mix. See how Georgia responds.
Georgia's not actually playing football anymore this year. I've talked to my girlfriend extensively about this. Georgia football games were canceled the past 2 weeks, and they're canceled for the rest of the season. It's a really random thing. They're just not going to play football anymore. So
Palmer, I gotta ask you a question. Did John Kennedy really upset your girlfriend this weekend?
No. Why?
He said that because as soon as she found out about Chubb, John went up to her and does what John does and was like, "Yo, did you see the video?" And
I do. I mean, she was very upset in general, but she's a diehard fan. She is a diehard Georgia fan. A kid who is not only one of the best players ever to play for that school, but also, if you know much about him off the field, he's a really stand-up guy, great off-field character, great person. And so to see him go down the first play of a game like that, and know it's that bad of an injury. And if you watch the video, that is a brutal injury. It is nasty. She was just upset in general. She.
Well, I completely understand it. That's such a typical John thing for you to be like, hey, don't say anything about Georgia, and then John to just be like, hey, did you see the video?
Trevor Lawley was worse than John anyway, so that's fine. But shout out to the DeAugustinas brothers, who I told she was really upset, and both of them immediately just turned into full-on Italian comedians and cheered her up pretty good. So shout out to Tom and Rob DeAugustinas for being their crazy selves. But Georgia. Maybe we'll talk about Georgia when it's a little less depressing next week. I appreciate none of y'all harping on it too much. The Chubb injury was awful. They'll be okay in the running game, but you don't want to see it. No one in college football wants to see a kid go down like that. It's having that kind of year. So I tried to avoid most of it tonight just to not make too many people too sad. I know a lot of Georgia fans watch this. So now we're going to move into NFL. Going to be very quick tonight because we got playoff baseball to talk about, and we had a lot of college football. Real quick, brief conversation on the picks and everyone, how they felt about them. Trevor, you suck. You're losing at all of your picks because you're not here tonight, which means no one's leading in the spread picks. Sirio is pretty demanding leading the straight-up picks in the NFL. It's going to be tough for someone to catch him unless he starts dropping off. But I'll let everyone talk about whatever they want to talk about right here real quick. Kyle?
Yeah, not much. 7-5 against the spread. I was pretty excited about that, as bad as I was last week. Trying to get back towards the 500 mark. Bucks had a good W. Pats continue to look good, and the Lions continue to look really, really bad. That's about all I got in the NFL.
I'm going to spend my entire time talking about one game. Surprise, it's the Packers game.
Jesus.
As far as that game goes, I'm
2 picks and a fumble!
No, that's correct. The first thing I was going to say was, when was the last time Aaron Rodgers threw an interception?
2012.
No, it was
at home. 2011. At home was 2011.
It was yesterday. So I'm glad that streak's over, because it's like a no-hitter. It's just almost like you're just ready to move on. It was good to see the offense, the Green Bay offense, be able to move the ball, because the Rams are by far the best defense in the league. And it was good to see the Green Bay defense show that they're not just the 11 guys that go on the field when Aaron Rodgers needs to take a breather. They actually had some really impressive plays. That being said, Clay Matthews got absolutely body slammed by Todd Gurley, who is going to be a stud. But the Packers are the best team in the NFL. Go Pack.
I do want to call bullshit on something you just said, that the Rams are absolutely the best defense in the NFL.
Are you just feeding Palmer's ego?
Yeah. The Broncos,
are you going to say Jets or Broncos?
No, the Broncos are a far better defense than the Rams are by far. I mean, they're one of the better defenses, but they're not far and away the best defense in the league. I don't want to go too far into it because we don't have that much time, but I just think that's an absurd statement.
Well, let me have just one thing why I say that is because the Broncos at least have an offense that takes pressure off the defense. The Rams have Todd Gurley and this guy.
I guarantee you that's it. Trust me.
So it's a you're allowed to play a different game when you have a Peyton Manning, a Demaryius Thomas, and Emmanuel Sanders.
That offense hasn't been very good.
No, they haven't, and you're right. But I think that it's maybe 1A, 1B, even also, 1C with the Jets.
Yeah, I think the Jets are even with the Rams. The only thing I'm going to say this week is I didn't realize it until I looked at the picks reviewing today. I picked Detroit straight up against Arizona, so I'm going to go sleep in my dumpster tonight.
Yeah, that was when I saw that, I was like, has he been watching Detroit this year? They might be the worst team. Like, they're almost as bad as the Jags and the Bucks.
I think I saw it as because they competed with Seattle, but what I'm realizing is Seattle may not be that good of a team this year. I don't know.
No offensive line. No offensive line in Seattle. Russell Wilson is getting sacked. If Russell Wilson is getting sacked that much, as elusive as he is, that tells you how bad that offensive line is.
Trading Max Unger for Jimmy Graham is actually looking like it was a really detrimental move. Jimmy Graham's not doing much out there.
That trade nears like the level of how bad Washington was when they traded everything they owned for my Rams' second pick to draft RG3.
Which I think Washington's screwing that up more than anything. We won't get into RG3 today, but I think he still has a viable future in the league.
Sirio, as a Rams fan, I won't say by far the best defense. I will say they're in the conversation. I will say definitely the best defensive line in the NFL. I don't think any other team has the defensive line that Seattle has or St. Louis has. I think they top that. Linebacking core has dealt with some injuries. It's great. Secondary is great but young. They don't have that veteran presence that some other secondaries have. Like at Denver, they're really winning off their secondary. But definitely in the argument for best defense in the NFL. Too bad Nick Foles is an absolute bum. He is terrible. When that trade happened, I said he's even worse than Sam Bradford, who is not that good. But I'm not going to limit too much. It was frustrating. We played fantastic defense against the best offense in the league. One of the best two offenses in the league. There's a debate there. Only gave up 2 offensive touchdowns, gave up a defensive touchdown. That was a fantastic defensive performance, but our offense sucked, and the Packers won easily anyway. Frustrating game. But we're going to move on. We're just going to go real quick. Who is the best team in the NFL, Kyle?
I still think that the Patriots are the best team. They score a bunch of points. I know Sarah's going to say the Packers, and that's fine. That's the only reason I didn't say them. I'll let him handle it. Tom Brady is a man on a mission.
Sirio, keep it short on your beloved Packers.
Go back.
Doobie?
I think it's the Packers. Their defense is far and above what I expected them to be. I will say Cleveland is not a team that I think anyone should forget about. I mean, Cincinnati.
Okay, I was about to say.
Cincinnati.
I mean, 500 passing yards was great this weekend, but let's pump the brakes there.
No, Cincinnati, I'm not kidding when I say this. If Andy Dalton keeps it up, he's going to be a legit MVP candidate this year. Watch out for Cincinnati. I think they might actually put it together this year. That being said, I still think the Packers and the Patriots are better than them at this point.
No one said anything about the Falcons, which is pretty surprising.
I don't think they're in the argument for best team. I think their defense has holes. I think Julio is their only real threat receiving the ball. I think there's some offensive line issues. Matt Ryan is playing better again, but he's never going to recover from that season where he got sacked 50 times a game and his head got bashed in all season. So
that being said, Devonta Freeman, and this is not an exaggeration, is the best running back in the NFL right now.
He is the best playing running back in the NFL right now. I don't believe he's the most talented.
I don't think he is either, but he is performing the best of any running back in the NFL right now.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I don't think if anyone tries to argue that, I don't know what the hell they're looking at. The dude has 8 touchdowns on like 57 or something carries. I don't even know. He's got way less carries than anybody else. Has more touchdowns than it's Adrian Peterson, Matt Forte, Arian Foster, and another big back name combined. He's playing lights out. It's unbelievable to watch.
His fantasy line in the past 3 weeks is 40 points, 30 points, 30 points. It's absurd.
Quick fantasy plug for myself. Undefeated in both leagues. Great season. Devonta Freeman doing it for me in one league. It's awesome.
I'm sure our viewers are really concerned.
Any more NFL discussion from anybody before we move on to a quick NHL preview with our guest amateur?
Let's see our special guest.
All right, so this is our guest amateur of the night. He's another one of our boys from Florida State. Once again, I know it's a lot of Florida State guys on here, but that's because those are the people that always talk to me about sports, and those are the ones that want to come on. So if you're sick of all the FSU bias, which I'm hoping there won't be any in the NHL talk, let me know. Christopher Berteljung, one of my little brothers in the fraternity at Florida State. He's here to give us a little quick NHL preview that dropped puck last week and has gotten a few games in. Chris, how's it going, man?
Oh, what's up, Bertel?
Go Knowles. I'm going to spend the entire time talking about the Knowles because the NHL is completely about the Knowles. No, but quick.
And he's unprepared even though he's been sitting here waiting for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I've been sitting here sweating the whole time listening to everybody talk about the Packers. But quick storyline, the Blackhawks, are they going to defend again? Talks about the Blackhawks being a dynasty, and then Patrick Kane goes out and allegedly rapes somebody. So they're looking at that. I think the Blackhawks don't repeat this year just because they traded away Sharp and a couple other key players. Next storyline is, will the Kings take over for the Hawks? The past couple years it's been Kings, Hawks, Kings, Hawks. Does that happen again? The Kings get a huge trade, pick up Milan Lucic, add some strength to that team, and then he's a bozo and goes out and gets ejected in the first game. I think that's a dumb move, but and they've lost both their first games, so looks like it's not working out too well. My pick to win the Cup this year, and another storyline, Anaheim. They have so much talent. If they don't even get to the playoffs this year, it'll be a huge bust, and I think their coach gets fired for it. Another big storyline is Connor McDavid. Will he live up to the hype? This year's #1 draft pick, hailed to be the next Sidney Crosby, the next Michael Jordan of the NHL, I guess, is what somebody said. He had a huge junior hockey career, but I don't know if you can live up to that hype. It's so much hype for somebody to be 18 and play, or 19, I think he is. And then, how will the Coaches Challenge affect the NHL this year? The first Coaches Challenge was actually done, I think, the first day of the NHL, and it actually was victorious for Mike Babcock, but I think it's just going to slow down the game and make it kind of soft. You just start nitpicking every call and giving coaches challenges, and I'm not a big fan. Other trades, Carl Soderberg to the Avalanche, huge trade, young player, going to add some talent there. Dougie Hamilton to Calgary. They'll get some defense, hopefully not go down so quick. Carl Hagelin to the Ducks. Again, the Ducks are stacked. They need to win something this year, otherwise I don't know what's going to happen. Heads will roll. Phil Kessel to the Penguins. They're going to be overrated like every year. And Sharp from the Blackhawks to Dallas. They're going to have a stacked team. Jamie Benn, now they got Sharp, they got Sagan. Their offense is unreal this year. Again, back on Connor McDavid. The people are saying he's a generational talent. Skates like Bobby Orr, vision of Gretzky, handles like Lemieux. I mean, if this kid lives up to the hype, he's going to be one of the best NHL players ever. But people this hyped rarely live up to the hype. The next #2 rookie, Jack Eichel. I'm liking this kid, American, for once. There haven't been too many Americans, but he's coming out of Boston University, best college player last year, so we'll see how he lives up to it too. We got 7 new coaches in the NHL this year, so it'll be interesting to see what the new coaches do. And then my coach on the hot seat is Ken Hitchcock of the Blues. They've consistently had talent and underperformed, and this year they don't have that much talent, so they're going to underperform, and he's going to get fired. That's pretty much all I got.
I got a couple things to say there. A little bit disappointed that you didn't bring up the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think that they certainly. I live here and I have to listen to this shit about the Lightning way more than I'd like to, not being a hockey enthusiast. But the way that they performed last year and how young they are and everything they return, they certainly should be considered one of the top 3 contenders for the Cup. Also, I think it's very interesting that they moved to a 3-on-3 overtime, and I think that's going to be super good for the game. I think that's going to be really fast-paced and something that people are going to like to watch.
That's literally the only thing I know about the NHL, the 3-on-3 overtime. That's it.
Yeah,
I think what that really brings that I like is that it puts the star players in the spotlight in the overtime. You put your puck handlers, you put your goal scorers, you put your best guy in no matter what in that situation. And, sports are all about star players. That's what brings viewers. That's what brings sponsors. So I think that's really great for the league in general. Chris, I'm glad you talked up my Ducks. They're gonna have a great year. They're gonna do it this year.
It's all about the Panthers. Anybody see the Panthers' first game, 7-1?
Yeah.
Going all the way this year.
The Flyers are garbage.
Eichel scored in his first game, right?
Yeah.
Nice goal, went back, stole the puck, went down the side, put a tough angle shot through the legs of the keeper, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. But, everybody was talking about the first 2 picks. But, from what I hear, everybody was talking about McDavid instead. That if any coach had the opportunity to take him as overall, they would have taken him overall. So, we'll see.
All right, Chris. Appreciate you coming in, giving us some NHL insight. I'm sure he'll be back a few points throughout the season to talk about how it's going. Unless I can pick my ass up and start focusing on it a little bit more. But thanks for coming in tonight. We appreciate having you, and have a good one, man.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
See you, bro.
Yeah, fuck you.
All right, hope you all enjoyed the NHL preview. We only lost one live viewer during that, and it didn't happen until the very end of it. So that was random.
We lost Kyle for a second.
Yeah, I was going.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move right in. I know we're at an hour, but you know what? We're going to keep going. Bear with us. If you don't want to keep watching, we'll miss you, but we're getting into baseball. I know Grant Morris is going to be watching this heavily. It's the playoffs. 3 or 4 games done on the day. We got 4 series. None of them are ending today, it looks like, unless I'm missing something.
No, you're good.
We're going to start with general reactions to the current standings in the series by everybody. Thoughts on what's happened so far in the first 3 games of each series, or 4 games, and then the 1 game in the 3rd game right now. Kyle, start us off.
Well, I was very surprised that the Astros and the Rangers got it to 4 games. I kind of expected the Blue Jays to roll over and beat the Rangers up pretty badly. That obviously didn't happen. Didn't swing the bat, struck out a little bit too much in the first couple games, but they got to go back to Toronto now. I don't see that as a good sign for Texas. Same with the Astros. Now they got to go back to Kansas City. It's going to be rocking. You can't give up those kind of runs late in the game. They relied on their bullpen pretty much throughout this stretch run to win the AL West, and that was disappointing to say the least. Really, really impressed with the Cubs' young bats, especially tonight. Absolute home run derby. Excited to see where they can take it. I think they're going to win the series, and I think they're going to close it out tomorrow night. The other one, I haven't really paid much attention to the Dodgers and the Mets. It's just because it's late and football was on Saturday and traveling and stuff on Friday. I haven't really paid much attention until tonight. I like the Mets, and now the dude Alex Wood is in, and he has the weirdest fucking lineup I've ever seen in my life.
Syrio, what do you got?
In the AL, I didn't have it going this way at all. I can't believe the way that Houston and the Rangers have been playing. To force it to 5 games I don't think anybody could have called that. I personally would have expected it to be done in 3 or 4. I thought both the Royals and the Blue Jays were two of the strongest teams. So for them to both go down to an elimination game and have to battle back for Toronto twice was just absolutely crazy. I still do think that the favorites make it out. We'll see about that. I'll let Perry Doobie talk about what he thinks about the Royals and how they're playing. In the NL, I kind of backed my way into the Dodgers, and I'll let Palmer take over the Dodgers Mets, but I do want to talk about the Cubs. I think they're a really, really good team. I don't think they win it all, but I think that they make it out of the series.
Dude, what you got?
First of all, I just got to give a little shout out here to Graham Morris. Just a quick backstory here. I grew up as a Mets fan. I grew up with season tickets to the Mets, and I went to all the games. I was a huge Mets fan. When I moved to Florida, I lost complete interest in baseball and stopped really following it. Didn't pick it up again until I moved out to San Francisco and subsequently became a diehard A's fan. I never lived that down in Graham Morris's eyes. He gave me shit about it every day. Would say, what about the Mets? What about the Mets? Go Mets. Then Graham decided he was going to move to Baltimore and completely disown his Braves and become a big Orioles fan. So he basically did the exact same thing that I did. So I told him today I was going to wear Mets gear in order to support the Mets in their game tonight and just be a low-key Mets fan. I decided to not do that today when the Astros pulled an Oakland Athletics circa 2014 and blew it against the Royals. I don't even know if you can call it imploding or blowing it anymore. I think that if the Royals get down by 4 runs in a closeout game, you can just go ahead and mark it down as a win for Ned Yost's crew. That was absolutely insane. I watched both games that they've done this in. It's like when they go down by that amount, something springs into their head. I can't imagine how the Astros fans are feeling. Oh, wait. Yes, I can, because I experienced the exact same feeling last year. And other than Florida State football, it's the worst sports feeling I've ever had. My heart goes out to them because they're going to get crushed in Kansas City unless something crazy happens. I, along with Michael Cirio, picked the Pirates to win the World Series. As soon as the Cubs beat them, I just shifted that over to them. I think whoever won that game is going to win the World Series. The Cubs have done nothing to prove me wrong on that. Jorge Soler coming out of nowhere. I believe the status is he has not had a single out in the playoffs this year yet. I mean, that is
like 5 hits and like 4 walks or something. He hasn't got out. You're right.
Yeah, and he had a crazy 2-run blast off of Wainwright on Wainwright's first pitch today. The Cubs are looking good, man. They're scary. The Mets are looking good. It's going to be a really fun playoffs. This is the most interested I've been in the playoffs without having a team in the fight in a long time.
Yeah, Cyril gave me a little bit of lead into Dodgers Mets because he wants to talk about how I bet him something. Anybody that knows betting would have taken this. Doobie and myself earlier in the week were saying that we believed the Mets were going to sweep the Dodgers, that the Dodgers were not going to win a game. He said he would give me 10-1 odds on that, and I said, done, I'll bet you $5 on 10-1 odds that the Mets sweep the Dodgers. He took it. I think that was a smart bet on my part. I do owe him $5 now, even though I blame it on Chase Utley, which we'll talk about in a minute. But anyone that doesn't take that bet is an idiot because it's $5 to win 50. That's insane. You take that bet every time, I don't care who you are. He also wanted to add to the bet, after he made the bet, that I would have to wear a bag on my head this entire podcast saying I'm an idiot. Number one, that would just be annoying for me. Number two, it was a smart bet, not an idiot bet by any means. Most bettors would agree with me on that.
I'm just happy in myself because you guys were kind of, rubbing each other's backs on how you didn't think the Dodgers were going to win. I interjected and named the odds 10-1, and
I took the bet in a
you
second.
Took them and said, quote unquote, I'll probably still lose, but I have to take those odds.
Absolutely, because a sweep is not common in the playoffs, but the odds are too good. I mean, that's just how it works.
And
Pop, your viewers just got an image of Doobie and Palmer rubbing each other's backs.
A lot of people are spending some alone time to that image tonight, I guarantee you.
I'm going to go ahead and mentally rub Palmer's back right now. I'm going to come to his defense. The Mets really should be they should be up 2-0 and be on the verge of eliminating here. I don't agree with Chase Utley getting suspended. I don't know, Palmer. Can I go into this now, or do you want to wait to move into this?
No. I mean, that was the end of the series talk. So yeah, we're right into the Utley slide.
Yeah. If anyone didn't see it, Utley slid off the base pad.
First of all, I mean, can we call it a slide? Because that's not a slide.
I'm not calling it a slide.
His entire upper body was off of the ground the entire time. I don't know if his ass even ever touched the ground.
It was breaking up a double play. It was a baseball play that we've seen for years. The rule's going to change now. But, when he came into second base, broke Ruben Tejada's leg. Do I think it was a dirty play? Yes. Do I think it's an uncommon play? Absolutely not. Do I think it deserves a suspension? No. This wouldn't have happened in the regular season. This wouldn't have happened if it was any other team, really, I don't think.
It wouldn't have happened if there wasn't a broken leg.
Yeah, exactly. It's a circumstance thing, and I think Joe Torre felt a lot of pressure, so he suspended Utley.
It doesn't matter because he's eligible tonight, though.
Yeah, but he's not going to be eligible for the Game 4. That's so important.
Well, they're saying that they probably won't hear it until late tomorrow, so he'll be eligible.
Speaking on this subject matter, guys, I don't mean to interrupt, but I have a caller that wants.
Well, he's going to have to wait. He's going to have to wait because on the whether it's a dirty play. Yeah, Graham, you can wait. Sorry, buddy. On whether it's a dirty play or not, that's not my issue. Here's my issue. Here's how the rule reads. If, in the judgment of the umpire, a base runner willfully and deliberately interferes with a batted ball, or a fielder in the act of fielding a batted ball with the obvious intent to break up a double play, the ball is dead. The umpire shall call the runner out for interference and also call out the batter runner because of the action of his teammate. In no event may bases be run or runs scored because of such action by a runner. The call was missed. It was a double play. He slid into the player. That is 2 outs, period. That's my problem with it. It is a missed call. It's always missed. The umps give the slider, if he even goes, he doesn't even have to go near the bag. I've seen worse ones than this, to be honest. I've seen further away from the bag than this. But if that's the rule, it's got to be called. And that's how it is.
I couldn't agree with you more. I was just about to go into that. I'm just going to, real quick, I'll say this. Just was going to say that should have been 2 outs. That would have changed that whole game, and the Mets probably would have won.
Okay, I agree. But as far as him going into a slide, that's the way the sport is played. I mean, he went in, he slid into second base. It was a hard slide, yes, and it was a dirty slide, no. There's a difference between that. He didn't go out of the base path to make the slide. He slid into the guy, and that's allowed by the rules. There's no rules that say you have to tiptoe around.
I just read you the rule. No. I just read you the rule. He was not sliding into the bag. He was sliding into the player. If any person that has a reasonable
mind, see the replay.
Any person with a reasonable mind knows that was the intent of breaking up the double play, not sliding into the bag. It's written in the rules. Yes. Don't tell me there's not a rule.
He slid. It was not a dirty play.
He didn't touch the base pad. He literally did not.
No, his hand reached out and got the bag. It did. I'll give him that. His hand reached out and got the bag. But that was not a slide. He jumped into the guy's legs. It wasn't a slide. The intent was not. I'm not saying there was an intent to injure, and he was a dirty player that wanted to hurt the guy. But there was absolutely no slide about it. It's not a slide.
Can you just mentally describe what you think happened? So you think he ninja jumped into him? Is that what you're saying?
He put his legs on the ground and put his arms like this and his head forward into the guy's legs. How's that a slide?
He slid in.
This is semantics.
No, because by the rules of the.
But definitely don't tell me there's not a rule against what he did, because I just read you the rule and it's clearly exactly what he did.
He had. By your definition, he has to have no intent of going for the bag.
No, that's not at all. Did you hear the words I said?
Yeah.
He doesn't have to have no intent of sliding to the base. He just has to have intent to break up the double play. But I mean, there was not anything in there about no intent to hit the bag.
So what you're saying is every single time that a double play is, and I want you to finish the sentence.
Interferes. That's the rule. But the difference is the interpretation of that rule means if you're sliding into the bag and you hit the player while you're sliding into the bag, you can get away with it.
Did you drive to class today?
Yeah.
Did you go past the speed limit more than 1 mile an hour?
Yeah.
That's the exact same thing.
This is silly.
It really is.
Yeah, if a state trooper pulled me over and said I was speeding, I have no argument because I broke the law.
This happens every single game. Players are allowed to slide in.
That's not okay. Well,
Can Graham gonna be on this? Can we get Graham on here?
Yeah. I'll call Graham now.
just tell him to get on his damn computer. I don't want to deal with this phone shit.
Okay. Well, now.
Kyle, do you have any input on this? I'm sorry, you've just been like sitting there. Do you have any input, Kyle?
I'm with you, Palmer, in the idea that if he slides into the bag and he hits the guy as he's sliding into the bag, then I'm okay with the play. But it's just so obvious. First of all, he didn't start his slide until he was already past the bag. He started his slide well past the bag. If he would have been in the baseline, he would have started his slide on top of second base. Tejada was behind the second base bag towards left field, and that's where he went and got him. So in my mind, yeah, that's dirty. I have zero problem breaking up a double play for going to the bag. Zero problem with that. If you slide.
Okay, let me ask this.
Oh, and by the way, Sirio, his opinion matters more because he played baseball in college. So.
I'm a baseball manager.
Sirio, what did you say? I didn't hear it.
If Ruben Tejada got up and had a minor scratch on his ankle, like every other play that happens the entire 162 games this season, except for Joe Hong-Gong, are we even having this conversation? No. But by zero means.
I will say this. I saw a video of 4 times this year, twice with the Phillies and twice with the Dodgers, that Chase Utley went after a dude and it was not sliding directly into the bag. So this, I think,
okay, so then ESPN needs to has a precedence. They need to have a rule, because right now trying to determine what's dirty, what's not dirty is not working, and it's baseball's been around far too long to try to say that this is the rule and we need to abide by it.
I'm with you. Something needs to change. I'm just saying, like, if you actually look at the details of that slide, if he's in the baseline and he's going straight at the bag, his butt may have hit the top of second base when he slid. Maybe. He might have started sliding after the bag, for all we know.
I agree with Palmer on the rule part, but I agree with Sirio that Utley did not deserve to be suspended.
Oh, no, the suspension, I'm not there. I'm just saying it is a rule. It should be called correctly on the field. All right, Graham, you've been bitching and moaning, so here you go. What do you have to say?
God.
So on the call, I just wanted to say the way that the rule's written, as long as he's within a arm's reach to the back, it's the rule, but he had no intention of actually go back and look at it. He was going directly after the player. Phillies are always Phillies. But from that standpoint, I can't believe nobody here thought the Astros could actually pull it out against the Royals. The Royals are actually being exposed for the real team that they are. No pitching depth. They didn't have a number one. Cueto is not as good as advertised. And I think the real thing we should be talking about is for the best thing for baseball in this World Series would be an Astros-Cubs World Series where you get to see some of the top prospects in baseball take on each other in a winner-take-all Game 7. I think that would bring some life back to the sport and could be honestly the best thing for the sport.
So, Graham, what you got to realize, I hear people say this all the time about sports. What you got to realize is baseball fans would love that. Graham, do you still have the video up on your computer?
It's gone now. It's good.
Yeah, okay. So, yes, baseball fans, people that already watch baseball, love that. People that don't watch baseball all the time anyway don't give a shit about young players whose names they don't know. The best thing for any league is for the superstars and the big names to be in the championship game. Because that's the crowd you want to bring in, is the people that aren't already watching because they love the sport. So the best thing for baseball, it depends what you think the best thing is. If you just want your normal fans watching, but MLB viewership is down the last few years. If you want the best players in, who's left in the playoffs? Donaldson, your MVP. That's who you want in the World Series.
And that's what I was going to get to, is if you look at the teams that are left, I mean, what are the superstars that are there? It's the Dodgers have Kershaw and Greinke, but really the other team.
It's Dodgers because Dodgers are the biggest name left.
And that's sad, but I think if you're going to get the interest in the sport, you need those young players to get the attention that they deserve in the World Series.
They have to get it before the World Series, though, because you got to have your non-baseball fans that want to watch, and non-baseball fans don't know about the Astros. Maybe the Cubs, because the Cubs have gotten to play on the media, but they don't know about the Astros.
Sure.
All right. Does anyone else have any more MLB topics? Anything else to say on the sports of the week? We're at our longest podcast of the year right now. So
the best thing for baseball is if the Cubs win. I'll leave it there.
Cespedes just hit a 3-run homer.
That's pretty awesome. Another thing I'll say is I don't get what's going on right now. I'm scrolling through my Facebook feed, and there's a bunch of statuses like, "We'll miss you, Steve, the greatest coach of all time. This is such a tragedy for the sport that you're in." I don't know what's going on, how everyone's just disregarding the fact that this man who recruited a bunch of 18-year-olds is just saying and walking out mid-season. It makes no sense to me. I love Steve Spurrier for the personality, but I think this is a terrible prick move for him to do.
So there's always been those like social media accounts about total Clemson move. Can we make like coaches being assholes the total Gator move? I mean, can that be a thing now of just Gator coaches being assholes to like families and kids? This goes back to my point on Sark. Like they go into families' living rooms and say, "I'm going to teach your young man how to play football and how to be a man, how to grow up." Oh, but then I'm really just out because I don't feel like fucking doing it. I mean, this is it's just Gator coaching. It's Urban did the exact same thing, and now Spurrier's doing it.
Go Knowles.
The last thing that I'll say, and then I'll hop off. Palmer has actually moved up in the Weekly Beard Power Rankings.
After shaving. After shaving, I've moved up.
You've moved up. If you take a look at Perry Doobie, there's actually 0 facial hair.
Yeah, I can't grow facial hair.
He comes in this week at number 4. Palmer moves up to 3. Kyle Meredith still stays at 2, and Sirius still remains number 1. We will have an update next week.
I'll still be clean shaven. I have an interview this weekend and an interview next week. That ain't gonna change.
I'll still be prepubescent.
All right, if there's nothing else from the guys, I'm sorry it's been so long tonight. If anyone still watches up to this point, I don't really care if they do. We get about 50 viewers a week. I don't know when they stop watching. I don't get those kind of stats for YouTube. But if anyone still is, thank you for watching. Tune in next week. Maybe there will not be so much ridiculous college football stuff, and we can spend a little more time on NFL. Baseball will still be heavy with the playoffs going on, and we're only a few weeks removed from the NBA and a few new guest amateurs coming on that I already have planned. I've already talked to. They're getting ready for it. Everyone get excited. We're gonna have a lot of new faces, a lot of change-ups going on, a lot of new formats. So that's it from me. I'll let everyone else give their send-offs, and everyone have a good week.
All right, guys. Go Knowles. Go Magic.
I'm going to sign off with the Johnny Manziel. Send that money over, $5.
Sponsored by Miller Lite.
Dalvin for Heisman. Dalvin Cook for Heisman.
Night, everybody.